Hello fellow gamers, Peter here, also known as Universal Head from the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Today I'm going to check out My Father's Things. It's by Renegade Game Studios, and I didn't get this as a freebie. I actually bought it myself. Yes, that still does occasionally happen these days. I couldn't resist. It looks so chock full of thematic goodness, I had to grab myself a copy. It's all about creating your father's work, which is probably some horrific experiment along the Frankenstein line. It's a 3-generational long story. You go through 3 generations, resetting each time. You've got irate villagers to contend with the results of your experiments and the inevitable moral and physical decline that comes with them. It sounds fantastic. It also comes with an app. There's a big story element in there as well. And there's Euro elements of worker placement and things like that. So much to look at. I started opening the box and looking at it, and I was so excited by the components, I thought I had to share it with you. So let's open it together and have a good look inside the box. Oh, and just before I start, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for this channel. Hit all notifications so you get notifications of upcoming videos. Okay, let's open up this beautiful, big, glossy box. Well, it's got some nice gloss varnish on the logo and things. Love this logo, by the way. Lovely Gothic style there. Let's open it up. Now, the first thing that's in here is a gorgeous rulebook. And one thing I was really, really pleased to see is that this is actually printed on matte paper. As you can see, it's not a usual glossy rulebook. And as soon as I saw this, I thought, why aren't more rule books done on matte paper? Because it just looks beautiful. And in fact, it's not something you see in design a lot these days because people don't pay as much attention to paper stock as they used to before computers. In my early days of design, of course, picking a paper stock was absolutely crucial. And yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of been lost a bit. So I just thought this was gorgeous, beautiful rule book. And nice illustrations and everything as well. And it's just got that lovely matte finish. So very impressive indeed. Then we've got this big thing, the Village Chronicle. And this is our maps, or all the different maps of the different towns that we're going to use during the game. Now, I haven't read the rules yet. I've just seen a couple of reviews. But you use all these different towns to give you different combinations of things that you can do when you visit the town as the mad scientist trying to fulfill your father's strange experiments. So a big book there. This reminded me a little bit of Sleeping Gods. I've seen it in other games as well, the near and far ones. So Ryan Lacat does stuff like this. And it's become quite fashionable. It's a really nice idea. Put your maps in a ring binder like that. We've got some counters. These are counters that go in your estate. You've got an estate board, and you can add various sections to your estate to get various abilities. There's another sheet of tiles. And this is the aforementioned estate. So each player has got one of these. Very nice double-layered board there. And you put counters here to keep track of various things: chemistry, biology, engineering, and occult resources. Perform your experiments in here. I do love a mad scientist game. It's great, isn't it? The only one I can think of offhand is Abomination, the plaid hat game about Frankenstein's monster. So there should be more Gothic horror games, I think. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those boards. Very nice. This is a 4-piece board that, as you can see, slots together and forms the town area. So this goes together like this, something like this. There we go, like that. And then that book that we had before sits in here with one of the towns open. So you've even got a space there on the board for the ring binder to sit in, and it sits like that. So really nice. Very unusual board setup. I really like that. And you've got all these tracks around here which keep track of things like how creepy you are and what generation you're going through the 3 generations of the game. Each generation is broken into early, middle and late years. And you've got angry mob tracks and things like that. So there's our town. An insanity board, of course. Insanity is just one of the aspects of horrific experiments, isn't it? Someone's going to go, I mean, you're a mad scientist after all. So you've got that. And then we get into some lovely trays. And I just love the fact that it made these purple. It's just brilliant. Normally you just go black. Someone said, let's make them purple, and I just think it's a fantastic idea. So, look at this. We have these very nice miniatures, and they've even got a sort of washed effect there. So, you can use kind of any miniatures, but you've got one for yourself, and you've also got one for your spouse, and you've got a servant, and a caretaker, and stuff like that. So you can use these different miniatures for that. And they're really nice, and I really appreciate the fact that they've just put this stone wash effect on them as well. So if you're not a painter, they still look a bit more interesting than just flat plastic. But of course, I will be painting them at the first opportunity. Huzzah! It's alive! And I've got probably an Igor kind of character here. Lovely stuff. Totally unnecessary, but really nice to have. This looks like a few little reference sheets. Turn sequence, there we go. Various symbols, that's nice. And a whole lot of stuff. Well, we've got different types of bases for all these different characters to keep track of who's who. We've got square ones and round ones and everything, so you know which type of miniature you've got, which one's the spouse, which one's the, yourself, etc. Some nice wooden meeples. These are the ones that you put on the board, it looks like, to keep track of those resources. Got cups and skulls and things. They're very nice. Here's some more. It looks like you've got a distinctive design for each player for those particular things. It's totally extravagant. I love it. Look at those meeples. Really nice. So that's our first tray. And then, now this is where, when I was unboxing it, I thought, no, I've got to film this because it's just amazing. Look at this tray. Just open that up. And what we've got here, look at these little bottles. What is this? It's amazing. Now, I presume this is used as a counter or something like that, but it's just astounding. I don't actually know what it's used for, but it's absolutely extravagant. I love it. We've also got some metal coins. Let's have a look at this. Every game is improved by metal coins, let's face it. Look at that. They've got that lovely clinky, heavy feel. More crazy meeples. Some coffins. Animals. Obviously you need animals, and look, there's all different animals. Not just a single animal thing, just different animals. More metal pieces, gears this time. It's totally over the top. We've got 4 different colours of transparent cubes. And some more metal coins here. That's ones with numbers on them. Let's just have a closer look. There we go. Wow, what an extravagant tray that is. Beautiful. Even the tray itself is just stunning. Wow. But there's more. We haven't stopped yet. Well, we've got some more cards here. Just some small cards. They look like they've got victory point objectives in them. Another lovely card tray. Well, I certainly won't need a Fame Core insert for this game. It's got everything ready. This is A, B, and C types of experiments. You're trying to get a combo of different types of experiments to achieve your major goals. So we've got all kinds of weird experiments here. I'll open up one of these decks and show you. So there you can see various things you can do to get resources and also achieve your particular type of experiment and get victory points. It is a victory point game. You're just trying to get the most number of victory points over the 3 generations. Here's a few from deck B. And finally from deck C. Oh dear, an inhuman millipede. That's frighteningly close to a film which I have very much avoided seeing. This looks like some character traits as well. Creep. I'm a creep. I'm a loser. And there's something we've all had, an existential crisis. The inside of this tray is really an engineering marvel, isn't it? Now, I'm not going to show you inside these because each one of these is a story or a scenario. Apparently, they play differently every time. So even though there's only 3 of them, there's a heap of variety here because all different things can happen. Shows the number of players, how long it'll probably take. Apparently, this is quite a long game. It's quite long and involved, but it sounds really, really fun. So we've got the cost of disease, fear of the unknown, and a time of war. And that gives you all kinds of extra cards and tokens and things which are used during the game. And how do you work out when you get all these bits? Well, you use the app. And here is the app, which is lovely. So I won't give this away as well because it's all part of discovering the game. But if you do a new game, you can set the number of players, choose the voice because a lot of it's red. Excuse my very dirty iPad. I should have cleaned it before I showed you this. So 2 players and off you go. So really nice. That's the app. And apparently there's a novel's worth of writing in this game. Heaps and heaps of background stuff. I am so looking forward to playing this. It looks like huge fun. I couldn't resist buying myself a copy. And it just looks beautiful. The production is totally over the top. These things are really the most extravagant things I've seen in a board game for quite some time. They're just gorgeous. And this is going to be great fun. As I said, more Gothic horror games. We need more Gothic horror games. I love the genre and I love the whole feel of that type of game. As I said, the rules are really straightforward and most of the extra complexity comes through the story as other elements are revealed and make things a little bit more complex. The app is fantastic and very easy to follow, and it'll take you through the different 3 generations and how the story develops with multiple different endings at the end. There's about 8 endings for each chapter. The main thing you're trying to do is build a masterwork, and you'll pick one of these at the start of the game. This is your main experiment and makes the most victory points. To get there, you'll be completing other experiments, and you'll need a certain number of A experiments to do B experiments and a certain number of B to do C experiments, and these are paid for with resources and ingredients. Ingredients are represented by these wonderful pieces I showed you before. Chemicals, gears, animal parts, body parts, stuff like that. You'll also need knowledge. There is chemistry, biology, engineering, and occult knowledge, which you keep track of on your estate board. So here's your estate, and this is where you'll be performing your experiments and doing other things. You'll also be adding estate upgrades to this board. To get ingredients and to buy estate upgrades, you'll be going to the town, and the town can change throughout the game. You can see there's all these different locations, and you can place yourself or your spouse or your servants on the town spaces to get what you need to make your experiments work. Here are the estate upgrades. Several of these are face up, so you can choose from amongst them, and they cost a certain amount of money and give you special abilities and victory points. And you place them on your estate board here, and as you add more to your estate board, they'll start costing you more money to place. Of course, being up there in your estate creating weird experiments makes you a bit more creepy, and if your creepy marker goes past the angry mob marker, you might be in trouble. People get a bit fed up with you. And that means you won't be able to do any actions in town until you visit the church and reduce your creepy marker on the track. But you not only get creepy, you can start going insane. And as you go up this track, you may have to draw compulsion cards that give you victory points if you achieve certain goals, and eventually maladjustment cards, which are always bad. Well, there's just so much to enjoy here, I hardly know where to begin. The thing I love about this game is that its theme is very immersive and fun. You really get into it, but also the mechanics are simple. You're not keeping track of gazillions of things, and you have a certain amount of sorting out what you want to do and which experiments you want to do, but it doesn't feel like multiplayer solitaire either. You're interacting with the other player in a lot of ways, also through the story and also through what you choose to get on the board and what you do. It feels like you're both playing the game and enjoying it, and yet you have the satisfaction of trying to achieve your own goals. So to me, it's a really exceptional mix between Eurogame and more thematic game. And I just love this kind of style of game at the moment. I think it's really, really interesting. Now, the game itself would have been great on its own. The addition of the app and all the story elements really takes this to another level. As I said, you've got the 3 different boxes. Each one of these has quite a few different endings as well, so you're unlocking different endings. There's heaps of replayability. Haven't even begun to touch on the amount of things that you can do. It's different every time, and it's great to see how you're going through the mechanics of the game, but the story part of the game is not only entertaining, but also shakes up the mechanics and does interesting things during each game. We've had some fantastic games, very, very close to the wire. In the last game we just played, I just managed to complete my masterwork with my last action of the game at the end of the last round of the last generation. Unfortunately, however, my opponent had built lots of the vanity estate upgrades and managed to get ahead of me in victory points. So it isn't a dry exercise of counting up victory points at the end. It's nail biting the finish, and you just don't know who's going to win, which I absolutely love, because I do hate dry adding up of victory points when there's no excitement involved with that. As you've seen, the components are absolutely spectacular. I love the over-the-top nature of the components. These little chemical jars are unbelievable. Also, I must point out, the storage is just amazing. It's by Game Trays with a Z, and they've done a stunning job. It's so nice to see things like card trays and everything involved. They're nice and sturdy. They're not really thin. Bringing it out on the table, you instantly feel involved in the game because it all looks so good and there's a place for everything. It's lovely to see. I must admit, I opened a game the other day by a company that used to be very successful and isn't so much these days. And when I just saw the cardboard insert, I thought, you know, it wasn't good enough back then and it's not good enough now. You've got to do something exceptional when you're releasing a game. It's a very crowded market. And this instantly sets itself apart because it's just so beautiful. And the storage is so lovely. I'm really impressed with all that. The other thing is the writing, of course. A game like this stands or falls by the quality of its writing. There's a lovely tongue-in-cheek sense to the writing. It can be grim and atmospheric, but there's also a bit of a laugh around every corner. The cards themselves for the experiments can be hilarious and give a lot of atmosphere to the thing. And the story in the story app is just excellent and can take you in very interesting places that you weren't expecting. So overall, I really can't recommend My Father's Work highly enough. I just can't think of anything wrong with it. Actually, there's a few things. It's been mentioned, these counters can fall over a bit. I don't think that's a huge problem. It probably is quite long if you're playing with 4 players. I've just played with 2 and it seems a perfect length to me. It's just a brilliant game. It's so good. So I highly recommend getting a hold of My Father's Work if that sounded interesting to you. We'll be playing it a lot in the future. I'm sure it's going to become one of my favorites. Really entertaining, well done, clever game. My Father's Work by Renegade Game Studios. I hope you've enjoyed this little overview, in my opinion. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the all notifications button, check me out on social media, and of course go to the website at orderofgamers.com. I have created a rules summary for My Father's Work, and there's a little reference card as well. So if you visit my website, there's a link to it below. You can go and download this and get one for yourself. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.